Welcome everyone to episode 54 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and with me is a very, very special guest today. This is a guy I've known for many years now, and his career and my career as a musician have kind of been intertwined for the last couple of years. He first came to see my band several years ago at just a random club gig. He didn't know who we were. We didn't know who he was. We play our show, and we see this guy come up to us, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a filmmaker. I'm shooting a documentary on local bands. I really like you guys. Would you be interested in being a part of it?" And we were like, "Yeah. Who have you got so far?" And he named a few other bands like Mechanism, Traverser, Soul Switch, and Murderfly. And I was like, "Wow! We know those bands. Those are all bands that have been around for a long time, and we're like, who have big fan base. It's like, wow, this guy just saw us play and he was impressed enough to include us in something like that." So I mean, we exchanged contact info, and then we ended up shooting some footage for this documentary project he had planned, and he's just a guy I've gotten to know, not only through different projects, different creative endeavors, but just I've really struck up a friendship with this guy, and the documentary he shot, that we shot footage for, I think it turned out relatively well. It's not something that's ever been released, unfortunately, because of just different factors that came in terms of the other bands that were part of it. Having members leave and some of them breaking up even. It was a project that didn't quite get off the ground as quickly as we thought it would, but I know this guy, I know how hard he works and how talented he is, and he always has a lot of different projects in the works, and has built up his company, Alikour Entertainment, to provide a lot of online content, both music related and non-music related as well. And he doesn't do this. He doesn't do this for the money. He doesn't do it. He has a day job. He has family and kids and everything. But he approaches making movies and shows, sort of the same way that me and my friends do with being in a band. So that's something that I think he and I always related to. And I've been lucky enough to work with him on several different creative endeavors as well. And we have a few projects in mind that we're trying to get off the ground as well. So and again, I don't want to jinx it too hard, because not all of it has happened yet, but this is a guy who I really admire a lot, and that we work with very closely, and that we've managed to have a lot of fun doing the things we enjoy together. So please welcome to the Phoenix Report, finally, my good friend Al Khouri.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Not much, man. I've kind of touched on this in the intro, but Alikour, your company, Alikour Productions, I think I accidentally called it Alikour Entertainment, but regardless,
it is entertainment. So
yeah, okay. Alikour this has been a labor of love of yours for a long time.
Yes.
And as a director, producer, filmmaker, you've had your hands in a lot of different things.
Well, yeah. So, and when I lived in West Palm Beach about almost 10 years ago, I always wanted to get into filmmaking and everything. I went to Palm Beach Film School. I became a on-set photographer for Palm Beach Film School and all their graduates, and went to shootings and different things like that. And
right.
when I finally came out to Orlando, I was at House of Blues. And I was watching bands on stage, bands you may know or heard of, Biebs and Her Moneymakers, and a couple others. Also Gargamel. Mm-hmm. And
a lot of Central Florida area bands.
Yeah, and I liked their on-stage performance and presence. And I noticed there were a lot of photographers out there, but there weren't a lot of videographers out there. But at the same time, we were just starting out early. And so we didn't have hardly any equipment whatsoever. Palm Beach Film School is a trade school, basically. It's not really like a college, where a college would hand off a lot of production equipment to you when you graduate. They didn't do that. Instead, they just, you graduated, you knew what you were doing, and you were able to find a job or be able to go off and do your own thing. But you basically had to go get your own equipment after that. So it took a couple of years to get some equipment together and everything like that. But I met a lovely lady by the name of Jennifer London, who is another photographer who used to shoot DJs and bands and everything like that. And she kind of took me under her wing for a little while and said, hey, why don't you just do photography? You're really good at that and cinematography, but cinematography just takes a lot more money and a lot more involvement. Photography, you buy a camera and go out and do everything the way the way you know how to do it, and maybe just build a presence. So that's what we did, and 6 years later, we're finally starting to do some movies and start making moves on that. So, and I'm very grateful for Jennifer London, and as well as Pamela Bendezu, who came later after that.
Yeah.
And helped me out extraordinarily with introducing me to WJRR and a lot of other people out there like that. And a lot of opportunity came our way, and I've tried to utilize that opportunity. And here we are today, and I'm so glad that I was able to meet you and a lot of other bands.
Well, I mean, and again, I can't stress this enough. I mean, the relationships you've built with other bands in this area, I think by embracing my band, Vertebreaker, I think you have definitely introduced us to a lot of people, and I feel like our association with you has helped legitimize us a lot in the eyes of the local scene, and I think by working with you, that's really benefited my band in a lot of ways in terms of forging these friendships and relationships with people in the scene, and with like connections with local radio and all this other thing. I don't know if I would have had the relationship I have with Super Dave, for example, if you hadn't introduced us.
Oh, I appreciate
that.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for that.
Even going further past, where I started out from, I was actually a drummer for a band in North Carolina called Southern Fried. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I knew how to be a local band. I knew local band struggles. I knew how it is that a lot of people don't understand it. When you're a local band, when you're first starting out and you're getting everything together, you're everything. You have to be the financial officer. You have to be the manager. You have to be the band. You have to be the talent, the artist, the writer, everything in combination. And I didn't want to approach the local bands and be this guy who comes in and says, okay, I'm going to charge you a whole bunch of money to get promoted and get out there and get settled and move your band. And because I know the struggle. I know how that struggle is. And I was like, no, I'm going to utilize what I know and work with you guys and try to even going beyond video production. Like, you've kind of done a little bit of concert promoting as well. Absolutely.
Like you've kind of worn the promoter hat, a few times.
Absolutely.
So it's,
you're speaking of Alikour live events.
Yeah. You've had your hand in a lot of different aspects of, of local music, especially local hard rock and metal. Of course, that's obviously the genre that we gravitate towards, but yeah. It
all comes back to, being able to socialize and meet these wonderful people around here in Central Florida, like Chris Marsh and other production companies like that, and be able to work with them not only as a photographer and a videographer, but also be able to utilize the knowledge that I have of being a local band and being able to go on gigs like that and being able to promote and put together shows. We decided, hey, let's go ahead, jump together and do some things together. And meeting with Kat, William Baker. He's another guy who is very knowledgeable about the business. He was a drummer himself at one point in time.
For sure.
And, with all this talent and all this, know-how, basically, I couldn't pass up the opportunity of putting together a promotions segment of Alikour live events, and be able to put on shows that I think everybody wanted to come out and see, which we are still doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're just on hiatus right now because we have so much other stuff going on.
For sure. I mean, there's so much we could get into on about what we're doing now, but I want to backtrack for a little bit.
Right.
Are you from West Palm originally, or?
I was born and raised for 17 years in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Right. Okay.
And then I moved to North Carolina for about 10 years, and I lived out in Boone, North Carolina, which is a middle of nowhere place. It's basically a college town. Appalachian State University is out there.
Okay.
And that's where my band, was kind of local there. We weren't really well known. We only put together a 5-track CD, which if you want to hear it, you never will, because I have no idea where it is.
That's too bad.
We had it, my bass player, Curtis, had a hold of it, and I believe he still does. But
when was the last time you played?
Oh, God, it must have been about 15 years ago at least.
We've been friends for years. I've never even heard about all this.
I don't really talk about it because it was such a short time of my life. I mean, we were only a band for maybe about a year. And, during that year, we played like 3 or 4 gigs. The Appalachian State University kids out there, they were digging us for a while, and we were starting to get a little bit popular. And then my brother Rob, who was the lead singer of the band, he had a little bit of money behind him, and he was like, let's get us in the studio, let's put together a little EP. And we did. And then roughly after that, that's when people started getting pregnant and married and started moving on, and there goes Southern Fried. But
yeah, that happens.
But those are days that were way before social media, way before any type of online promotion. So, you really can't look us up on anything because we didn't have a web page, we didn't have a Facebook page, we didn't have anything like that. It was totally by what I like to call the poster movement. It was or the flyer movement, if you will. We had to actually go and make physical flyers and go around and put them on car windows and stuff.
That's how they had, you had to do it back then, for sure.
Yeah, and then I moved from from Boone, North Carolina, over to, during that 10-year phase, I moved over to Wilmington, North Carolina, because I missed the beach. And it wasn't enough for me. Once I met my wife in Wilmington, I told her about Disney World, and I told her about Florida beaches and how great Florida is and being a paradise as it is. And we decided to move back down here. We moved to West Palm Beach, and that's where you pick up, Jack.
Right. Okay. So that's where you went to film school, and then you wound up here in Orlando.
And here we are today.
Was filmmaking always something that you had wanted to do, even as a kid, or like when did that interest kind of start for you?
My father really loved movies, and the movies that he loved were the old movies. He loved the classic movies with with James Dean in them and stuff like that. He loved the old Western movies, with greats like
John Wayne,
and people like that. And so I always watched those movies, and which resonates with me today is the same when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. Is I watched movies, and I still do this today, and I watch movies for how they're built and how they're constructed and how they get the angles and how they get the shots and how they use the lighting and what kind of film they used and what kind of costumes they used. I always loved the construction side of the movie entertainment business. I never really cared for...
Do you ever worry that kind of takes out of that makes it harder for you to enjoy it as a fan, just to get sucked into a story?
Totally. My wife is a fan.
Yeah.
She'll go to a movie and she'll watch it as a fan. She'll be sitting there deep in the storyline, deep in everything, wondering what the next character's going to do, and I'm over here saying, oh, well, that's interesting. They used fake sunlight on the back end of that and created another side over here with CGI. Oh, okay. And, it kind of irritated her every now and then. She'd tell me to shut up. But, and she still does. But that's the whole thing. I always wanted the constructive side of movies. I've always watched them for that, and it's because of my father. My father would sit down with old movies and he'd watch it, and he'd be coaching me on that. He was no movie maker. He was no filmmaker or anything like that. He just enjoyed seeing how things could magically be brought to life on film.
Right.
And he pushed that onto me as a kid, it's just resonated with me ever since, and
For sure.
it helps.
No, absolutely. And I can tell that you still enjoy things as a fan as well.
Oh, absolutely, of course, yeah.
Like, you can get sucked into a story as well. It's not...
I try to pay attention
those things
to that
aren't mutually
as much
exclusive.
as possible. Yeah, I try to pay attention as much as possible to storyline but once again, storyline, script writing and character, build is just another part of constructive, entertainment.
It's interesting how that world tended to mix with your love of music, and that's how you decided to start covering, local music.
Well, when you guys are on stage, you guys are pretty much acting out a show. You guys are putting on a story in front of us when you're on stage. And
that's definitely one way of looking at it. I mean, there's definitely a performance art to what we do.
Absolutely. You guys have a set, instructive ways of putting together a show from start to finish. You guys have opening songs that are probably played over, before you guys start, while you guys are tuning up a little bit. And then you go into your first song, and then you move into your crowd interaction, where you're talking to the crowd and talking about other bands that have come out before you and that are going to be on stage after you, and then you go into the next song, and see, all of this is just how you put together something. And it's the same thing with movies. We have to have a script, we have to have a screenplay of some sort, a list of instructions, to be able to execute the movie in a proper way. And with music, it's the same way, especially with live performances. You have to have that type of setup. Otherwise, you're just up there with a bunch of instruments,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people, I've always been a fan of, really putting on a show and making, putting the visual element, and not just, sitting up there with our guitars and staring at our shoes, but really trying to put on a show and trying to interact with the people and trying to make things visually exciting, or at least as visually exciting as they can. And, sometimes I've been known to take it a little too far, and some of my bandmates will be like, Jack, why don't you reel it in? Why don't you reel it in?
Slow it down a little bit, Jack.
Yeah. But, I mean, those things happen. But,
I've always enjoyed Vertebraker on stage. And, that's like you said earlier in the podcast that that's how I met you guys.
Yeah.
I came to go shoot Milka, actually.
Yeah.
I believe that's when I met you. I was shooting Milka. She was gracious enough to have me come out and shoot photography for her, and I was happy to do so. And I came out, and you guys were playing, and I've seen you before. I was at a previous show before.
Really?
Yes, I had seen you before, and that's how I knew that who you were when I saw you on the docket that Vertebraker was playing.
No kidding. Do you remember what show that was?
I have no idea. Now, that I can't recall on, but I know I did see you once before.
Because, I mean, this was still like relatively early in our in our career. Like, I want to say probably the first or second year that we had been together. I mean, you may have seen us with like maybe even some older members in the band.
I believe so.
It was certainly one of the first couple shows that we did after Jarrett joined the band on drums.
I believe so. Yes.
So it could have been before he was in the band, maybe that you saw us. I don't know.
Probably. But I did at that point in time.
Was it in Daytona?
I recalled you, and I realized
it wasn't in Daytona, was it?
No, I don't believe it was in Daytona.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, I mean, regardless,
but it was just something that I recalled you. I've heard of Vertebraker before. I've seen something about you guys. I remember seeing you on a previous show, and so when I sat there and was shooting Milka, and then I sat through your show watching you guys, I was like, I want them to be in the documentary. I want, we had these big names like Murderfly and Soul Switch and Mechanism and Traverser on there, and I wanted to have another band that was coming up. As you said, they're just starting out, coming up and everything, and you guys fit the bill completely, and that's why I wanted to have you on.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, and I guess in a lot of ways we're still kind of trying to get our name out there, even after a few years. But it's just certainly at that point nobody really knew who we were.
Yeah, it takes a long time, you know that.
Yeah, and just, you know, and I think, you know, partially due to your involvement, I think that helped us at least spread out our name to a few other people. Like it's kind of cool. Like when I'm out at like a concert out here, like or like hanging out with you, you know, and like we'll meet people at like other band shows and like they won't necessarily recognize me, but they're like, oh yeah, this is my buddy Jack. He's in a band called Vertebraker, and they'll be like, oh, I know those guys.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
And I, all the time I'm like, really?
It really is a great feeling. Yeah.
I'm like, really? How do you know us? But I mean, you know, again, WJRR, the radio station here in Orlando, they've played us before on Sunday nights, so that certainly is huge exposure as well.
Super Dave of WJRR, I just want to say something real quick. That man is a very generous man, despite what most people would think. He really is a very generous man. He takes care. If he likes you, he's going to take care of you. And he always has been my friend. And he's always been someone who has always given me a lot of opportunity and has, you know, been there for me. And I really appreciate him. And that's the thing, you know, when I would make a suggestion to him or he'd make a suggestion to me, that's when, you know, things would start rolling and, you know, he'd check you out. And if he liked you, then that's when the ball would start rolling. And,
for sure.
I really do appreciate everything he does for this community and everything.
And beyond that, like he's a fun guy to hang out with. Like he's a cool dude. And like now I've kind of like struck up a little bit of a friendship with him outside of like band stuff, you know, relatively, like, I mean, I hang out with him every now and then, but yeah, he's just a good guy. And I almost like, it's almost one of those situations for me where it's like, I don't want him to think that I'm like just like being friendly to him just because I think he can do something for me.
A lot of people are like that with him too.
Which I try not to be that guy. Because I really don't want to be like, I mean, like, I'll talk business with anyone, but it's like, I'm not going to pretend to be like someone's good friend or like, you know, just because of who they are or what they are.
Yeah, nobody should be like that.
No, I mean, I try not to be. And certainly, look, I'm aware that he has a lot of stroke in this town as far as like, you know, being on the radio and, you know, certainly being friends with him. With that comes opportunities. But at the same time, I'm just, you know, I just try to sit back and keep that separate and just be like, look, if you think my band's good enough to be, you know, to have this opportunity, then I appreciate it. But like otherwise, I'm not going to try and ask favors from you or try to like guilt you into like giving us stuff or try to like constantly ask him for things. You know what I mean? Like I try not to really do that with
Absolutely. Him. Yeah. Same here, you know.
But like he was nice enough to give me a call and be like, "Hey, do you guys want to open for Steel Panther in November?" So it's like stuff like that, like I don't know if that was his decision or what it was, but I mean, I certainly have him to thank for that, and I'll always be grateful for that.
Absolutely. And it's these people that are out there that, you know, that's what makes Central Florida such a great place to be an artist in, is because we're all big family here. You know, we all take care of each other. We all try to take care of each other. And then there's some few that come in that try to pretend like they're trying to take care of you. And you come to find out that they're really not, and we kind of push those guys out as a unit. You know, all of us kind of push those guys out.
For sure. I kind of came up in Tampa, St. Pete, before I moved out here. And not to say that I didn't make any friends while I was out there. I mean, I still have people out there who I keep in contact with, but it's like, you know, what you talk about that spirit, that sense of family, it was not that out there. And I don't know if, and from what I hear, that scene hasn't been doing overly well out there. There have been venues closing down and just not a lot of opportunities for bands out there.
Absolutely.
So it's, you know, and certainly a lot more bands out here are like, you know, we're sort of in my wheelhouse, in my genre anyway. So I think, I was lucky to end up out here and you know, and I feel like my music, or the music I'm a part of, I should say, tends to fit in better here than it has in Tampa, which is almost like two ends of the spectrum. Like when I was in college and being in bands, you'd have, you'd have some bands that were just like very light, like pop punk, like alternative, and then you'd have like death metal.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I was always like somewhere like some weird middle ground in there, and
absolutely.
so here it's not quite as much of that as it was in Tampa. So that's just something that I've observed from being out here.
It's the same case with down south too. I mean, if I would have stayed in West Palm Beach, I would have never been able to create Alikour in the musical sense that it is. It would definitely be a movie in production, possibly a YouTube. I probably would have ended up walking into YouTube eventually, as I have now, and but it would have been a lot more sooner, a lot more earlier. And we would have had to do that because out in West Palm Beach, as far as the metal scene goes, it's not a huge genre out there at all. It's a lot bigger here. It's a lot more put together. And like you said, I'm glad you were able to move and merge out to this area.
Yeah.
Same here.
I didn't move out here because of that. But
exactly.
I'm glad that, I ended up out here.
Right. I originally moved out to Orlando. If you guys really want to know why I moved out to Orlando, I moved out to Orlando because I have a son who is into Disney World and always has been into Disney World ever since he was born. And it was costing a lot of money to drive from West Palm Beach to
Really?
Orlando every weekend to go to Disney World. And I said, you know what? We're going to move there, and we're going to move right next door to it. And we ended up doing that. But that's why I came out here originally.
You're a good dad.
Yeah. I wanted to... I lived in Fort Lauderdale for a majority of my adolescent life, too, so... And my parents would take me to Disney World at least every 2 to 3 months. And now here I am doing YouTube videos in Disney World every other weekend.
Sure. I've been a part of several of those.
Yes.
But getting back to the original reason why we met, you were shooting a documentary that featured us and 4 other bands. Since the shooting of that and the editing, there were complications in terms of bands sort of dropping off the project or other things going on behind the scenes.
It wasn't necessarily dropping off the project. It was just basically, everybody was evolving. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I thought I was getting into a time period where bands like Mechanism and bands like Murderfly, they've been around for so long and together for so long with the original members that, or somewhat the original members that we weren't going to have any problems like this. But in hindsight, it was a point in time when we moved into this project that, a lot of things were changing behind the scenes that were not, known to me as well, It was their own personal stuff going on, and which I completely respect and everything, but I don't want to be putting out a documentary that is revolved around, things that were in the past. I want to be doing things that are in the present and that are moving into the future. But I kept all the footage. And I look forward to putting stuff out there on our Patreon page to get those documentaries. Those documentaries were very well done, and we'd like to thank Studio 18.
I mean, you can also market it as sort of like an anthology series. Yeah, that you're capturing a moment in time.
Yeah,
and because that's really what most documentaries are with most bands. I mean, look, we all know. I mean, the reality in this business that nothing's guaranteed to last forever.
Right,
you're going to have people coming and going. I think what you had was sort of just a snapshot of where those bands were at that time.
Yeah, and going on that, I'd like to say that the footage that I do have, I was also considering using that footage in the beginning of a new series of documentaries where we touch up on the past of each band and then revisit those bands and go back and show you what they're doing now and put it out at a lot faster pace.
Yeah, you could easily do that, And I think, in fairness to you, I mean, you had handled a lot of that yourself. I mean, you were doing all the editing. You didn't have like a big crew behind you.
No,
I mean,
you
had friends helping you out here and there, but for the most part, it's definitely your baby,
right?
And something that you've done. And
I think we had a crew of maybe 4 or 5 people that were running sound, video, and promotions and stuff like that, and
but certainly like the lion's share of the editing was mainly you.
Yeah, I've always did all the editing. No one else did because I can't find anybody in this town that could edit.
Yeah, I mean, and plus you're also juggling that as a husband and a father and a working man during the day.
Right.
it's very difficult to do that. So I think, and unfortunately, I think because, enough time had passed where it's like you had people, you had bands changing members, and then all of a sudden it's like, you could say that, you missed a window, but I don't think you missed a window when it comes to releasing that stuff. Because I think if it's still compelling,
I don't think the window has come yet.
No, I would agree.
I'm looking for the most pristine point in time to actually release this where it would make sense.
Yeah, and you could always specify that this is when this was shot, and just say, this happened in 2015 or whatever.
Subtitling does wonders.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely, and you could always, post captions, be like, this, so-and-so left the band and whenever it was, and...
Which we were going to do originally with Soul Switch. We did touch up on that. With the original footage. We touched up on how Mike was the original drummer, and then we moved on to Chris.
Yeah,
and
now
we talk about that, and we touched up on that, and I was able to get some older footage, even that I didn't film, that was filmed by another company when they did Earth Day Birthday,
right?
7.
And now, and now they have Don Cadman on drums.
Right.
And I think they just added a new lead singer as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because Tom Hustis had left, but then he had kind of come back for a little bit, but then he left again. And...
Right. Well, Tom is an extraordinary man. He's a man of many talents, and he wants to utilize those talents. And he if you haven't seen his tattoo work, you have to go see Tom Hustis' tattoo work.
For sure. And in fact, Al, you were in the room when I recorded a podcast with Tom.
Right. Yes, that's
and
right. At
with
the studio.
Soul Switch bassist Matt Larson. When they were explaining why Tom was leaving the band, and it was almost like his exit interview.
It really was. It really was. And I remember I think we went outside the studio and we all gave each other hugs because we thought that this was going to be the end of it.
Right.
But it wasn't. I mean,
he did stick around for a few more shows, but as of right now, he's not in the band,
right,
full time. I mean, although I think he still occasionally contributes, whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely. He is always going to be Soul Switch, whether he likes it or not.
Right, he's definitely still very much part of the family of that band. But I certainly hope that a lot of this footage ends up seeing the light of day. I think, thankfully, we still have the same 5 guys that were in Vertebreaker.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
It's crazy that still the same 5 guys that are doing it. So we've been very lucky in that regard. I mean, who knows? I mean, look, no one knows what's going to happen in the future. But for now, things are going great with the band.
Don't hang your hat up on Murderfly, because I'm not going to give anything away or say anything that I shouldn't. But they are looking for, I believe, a lead guitarist, and they do have a lot of plans in their minds right now, on the drawing boards, if I should say. And let's just say it's not the last we're going to see of Murderfly.
Yeah, Murderfly hasn't necessarily broken up, but as I understand, they've been on sort of indefinite hiatus for a while. I was talking to their bass player Tim a couple days ago about this.
They're reconstructing. They're trying to just
very much in
regroup.
a transitional phase as of this conversation. So,
I can't wait. I cannot wait, believe me. And Murderfly has always been one of, alongside of Soul Switch too, and Mechanism. Those 3 bands have always been my most go-to bands. If I needed a show, or I needed photos, or I needed something that I knew was going to pop and was going to be something for someone to look at and be like, wow, that's cool. I would go to them. And it's alongside with Vertebreaker as well. That's what I look for. I don't look for music. I don't look for, there's millions and millions of pieces of music out there that are great, and some of them are not so great. But it's when you combine on-stage presence with music. In prime example, Mechanism. Mecca on stage She is a movie on stage. She is a presence on stage that is incredible, that you walk out of that place, if you've never seen them before, you walk out of that place saying, wow. You say 2 things. That chick had an incredible voice, and you say,
Yeah.
she looked amazing.
Yeah.
Because she puts her heart and soul in
Absolutely. She is, she is a larger than life character when she is on stage. And it's just, is such a unique look and voice, and she's really something. She's really something special.
It really, that's what I look for.
And that's why she and her band are probably the most popular.
They're doing quite well, and I'm Godspeed to them. I'm glad they are.
Rock metal band at the moment. So.
I've always thought that they would.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since I first saw Mecca and met Bobby, I always said that those guys, they got something going on there.
Yeah.
All of them. And
absolutely. Mecca and Bobby, both podcast guests, by the way. Go back and listen to those episodes.
Right.
But yeah, it's certainly good company to be included in bands like those, and a lot of that we owe to yourself for seeing us and sort of discovering us and kind of putting us in the conversation. So
absolutely,
again, we'll always be grateful to you for that.
And same, it goes right back to you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, I would just be another guy with another camera. I mean, and I tell everybody that whenever somebody walks up to me and says, "Oh my God, you're so amazing, you do such great work," blah, 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 I say, if I didn't have all these guys behind me doing crazy stuff and letting me, allowing me to capture it, then I'd just be another guy with a camera. And there's many of us out there with a camera. Believe me.
Absolutely.
It's saturated. But
for sure. And segueing into what you're doing now, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on finally, I mean, I've been wanting to have you on for a while now.
Yeah, you've asked me many times, but it's just doing all these projects.
Yeah. But I mean, I think now is a good time to have you on because in addition to taking photos and videos of bands, you're also making moves to develop your own content on your YouTube, like in the form of different web series.
Yes.
And one that you have going on right now that I've been lucky enough to be a part of is a show called Florida Freaks.
Yes.
Now Florida Freaks is basically yourself as the host and a rotating series of co-hosts, and sometimes I'll be part of that rotating series of co-hosts, but we'll go out to different locations, like theme parks and just different like tourist spots around the Central Florida area, which obviously Central Florida is known for the tourism industry. So there's no shortage of fun things to do in town, but you definitely have put your own spin on your general travel blog kind of thing.
Yeah. Florida Freaks started off about a year ago, and how it started off was I'd be sending video messages, and I don't know if you ever heard of this app. It's called Marco Polo.
Yes.
And there's a couple other apps that we would use, but my brothers and pretty much my entire family now has moved to North Carolina over the years, and I moved back here. And which they're kind of still upset with me about because I left, they followed me, and then I left again. I'm not trying to get rid of them.
Right. You're not running away.
But I'd send my brother, video messages pertaining to Disney World, Universal, and all that, and I'd be telling him about it and all that. And he was actually the one who said, Al, you are like a vlogger. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, it's just a video blog.
I've heard of blogger, yeah, but I've never heard of vlogger. I didn't know what that was. I wasn't really on YouTube at all. I never watched other people. I mean, and there was a couple of people who I did watch, but I didn't really catch on that they were called vloggers. Adam the Woo and Justin Scard, and to name a few of them. And they were partly my inspiration to do what we're doing today. But my brother is the one who called it out. He was like, why don't you, you do so much with the music business, you do so much with photography and video and everything, why don't you utilize YouTube and do that? And I told him, I said, I have a YouTube channel. It's Alikour Productions on YouTube,
Yeah.
And I was doing a short show every month. I put one video out every month, sometimes twice or three times a month, of Alikour Update. It's called Alikour Update, and which I still do every now and then. And I was running with that, and it was going okay, But I told my brother, YouTube, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to utilize that platform. And my brother was like, yeah, well, you didn't know how to utilize any of the other platforms you did, but you're doing pretty good now. So he kind of gave me the inspiration, the kick in the pants, if you will, to go ahead and jump out there and do it. And I decided, what are we going to call it? It's everything you freak out about Florida. Why don't we call it Florida Freaks? And then that took off. And then I already had the know-how with Alikour on how to create social media, and put out a Facebook page, Instagram page, and hook up Twitter and hook up everything and all these different platforms to be able to push. And so, I put that all together, and I put together the show, and I needed a co-host, and I found, Erin's an old friend of mine who has a little bit of experience in being a vlogger, and she decided she wanted to join me on the whole adventure, and she's been doing it with me quite often. But we're going to be doing more adventures with more other, co-hosts, because a lot of other people have come to me and said, hey, can I be on the show? And Erin has said to me, hey, if you're going to have other people on the show, you should have other people on the show, and she's very responsive on that. And there's a lot of great talent out there alongside of the great locations that we could visit. And it's amazing that a lot of these people have a lot of informative, educational facts about these locations that we're going to a lot better than I do. I mean, and to take it for an example, Disney is building a Tron ride, and I'm speaking with Jack on the phone, and Jack's like, oh yeah, I know all about Tron, and he starts telling me all about Tron. And
I didn't really even know about a bunch about like the ride that they were building. I was like,
you just know the movie.
I was like, dude, I love Tron Legacy, and and the original movie, like I saw that in the theaters. Well, I saw Tron Legacy in the theaters, and that made me go back and buy the old movie, and it's just like I really dug that movie, and it was just like, man, I'm so excited that they're building a Tron ride that's like, why haven't they done that sooner?
But you know the background of it. You know the storyline. You know who the characters. You know what it's about.
Yeah.
And what better to be able to ride this brand new ride at Disney based on that and have someone with me who is knowledgeable about what we're doing. And I won't have to do, add to the work that I'm already doing, where I'm editing and I'm writing and I'm filming and I'm setting up, with cast members, abilities to go into different places that most people can't go into.
Yeah.
And I have all this stuff to do. And then, of course, the social media comes into play where you got to do promotions and everything else like that. I really don't have the time to go back and do a history lesson on certain things.
Right.
So it's great to have those co-hosts come in and be able, and those guest hosts to come in and be able to spread their knowledge about a certain subject.
Well, not even that, because it was something I was genuinely excited about. So
really?
I think even more so than the fact that what I knew about the movie is just like, I was excited about that, and I would imagine you would want people.
It's going to be a fun
You would want people on your show that are passionate and excited about whatever it is you're covering.
Exactly, and Erin, take Erin for instance, my current co-host right now. She's knowledgeable about Disney because she actually works there.
Yeah.
She's a third-party human resource manager at Disney. And so she knows, a lot. And she's very, she knows how things work, how things operate, and who to talk to and stuff like that. So she's a very big aspect on Florida Freaks. She's a very good influence, and I'm glad she's with us. And, but there's other people out there also that have different niches and stuff like that are able to bring more to the table as well, and we want to utilize it.
Yeah, like there are a lot of blogs that are like specifically just focused on Disney, or just focused on like princess stuff,
right.
Or like, for us, like, we do a lot of stuff at Disney, but like we're not limited to that.
Disclaimer, we are not a Disney vlogger channel.
Right.
We do a lot of Disney, but we're wanting to do other things besides Disney. There's a whole lot out here in Central Florida that is incredible.
100%.
That most people don't even know about because they only come here for Disney, or they only come here for Universal, or Busch Gardens or anything like that. They don't know about the background stuff. And that's what we really want to bring to the table for our channel is the background stuff, the stuff that you don't really know about, but would be an awesome sidescape to your vacation to go check it out, because now you know about it because you saw it on Florida Freaks.
Absolutely. And so I've been excited to be a little part of that, what you're doing. I mean, that's 100% your baby, so I'm just glad that I've been able to tag along for a little bit of that.
I'm happy that you're with me on it, Jack, because I mean, your presence on film, and of course with the podcast, you have that certain voice, you have that certain presence, and I unfortunately, I really don't. I've always called myself the behind the scenes guy. That's why I'm in the video.
No,
production,
but I mean, not for nothing now. Like, I've seen you become more and more comfortable in front of the camera.
I'm trying to. Yes.
Over the years,
I definitely am.
I've seen a lot of growth there, and I've seen you become more confident and just just have more energy, in front of it, and you've really grown into it very well, I think. So it's I wouldn't sell yourself short on that.
I appreciate that. I've been learning from you guys.
Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, glad I could help. But like from that, you and I have also collaborated on a few different ideas, including another web series that we are in development now that we actually shot a pilot for.
Yes, with Breathing Theory.
Yeah, with Breathing Theory. Years ago, I had seen a clip of the old MTV show Headbangers Ball.
Right.
And there was an episode they did where they would have like wraparound segments because they would count down like videos.
Absolutely.
But the host at the time, Ricky Rackman, he actually was at this water park. I forget where it was, but it was a water park. He was out there with the guys from Alice in Chains.
Good old bald Ricky.
Right. He wasn't bald at the time, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not.
No, he definitely had the long hair still. But
That's right, yeah.
He's
bald now, though, I believe.
Is he?
I think so. I think I saw a picture of him where I think he shaved all the hair.
I thought he still had like the short hair with the spike hair.
Oh, he might. He probably.
Maybe you're thinking of someone else.
I think he is Buzz.
Well, either way.
Yeah.
Either way, but he was out there with the guys from Alice in Chains, and those guys, they were just having a good time out there. Mm-hmm. And like people completely saw a different side of Alice in Chains that they had, because obviously they're known for having very, very dark, very gloomy music, but they were just being a couple goofballs. Like, you had Jerry Cantrell running around in a blue Speedo.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, even Lane was having a good time. God bless him. Rest in peace. But,
That's right.
But, like, from there, like, we had talked about, like, doing an interview show, possibly with bands. And I was thinking, like, why don't we could still do that, but why don't we do that while taking local artists out of, just not being in the clubs or not being in the typical like rehearsal room or whatever. Let's take them out to like different places, different locations, like theme parks or like the stuff you do in Florida Freaks. But let's have us like, do fun things, go to fun places, do fun activities.
And be able to interview those.
Yeah, being able to interview them and kind of show off people's personalities a little bit and just have a good time. Like, I almost thought of like old shows like Choose Your Adventure on NBC and or like Bert the Conqueror on the Travel Channel, where you got to see people out there having fun, and even if it means being a little goofy, but just just out there having a good time and showing people that that like musicians are real people too. Exactly. And I had thought of like, I would love to do this, and so I immediately thought of our friend Sarah as a possible co-host for me, because it's like, okay, I would love to have a female co-host. I'm like, who is better, in terms of having a personality, but also having that vibe where like she's very much into the same kind of music that I am.
She's got an incredible influence.
I mean, her boyfriend is in Breathing Theory,
right?
So it was easy to get them
that
to
worked out.
Yeah,
for the pilot. Yeah.
So it was easy to get them to be a part of our pilot, and it was great because Sarah and I have such a great chemistry back and forth, and in my mind there was no one else I would have picked but her. Like, I knew that she was the perfect person to do that.
She's so charismatic and
for
so
sure
funny, and she just brings so much energy to the show.
Absolutely, and she and I get along great, and we just have the perfect on-screen chemistry, I think.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it was great. I got there and it was like, between you and me, I think Sarah might have a thing for Colin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just doing silly little stuff like that, and So we shot that pilot, and we want to do more episodes. But like I had been hesitant to sort of announce it because, again, until we have more to put out there.
Yeah, we're still in early development right now with that.
But I figure at least with anyone listening to this, especially if you're in a band, then this is at least a good way to sell people on what the show is and what it could be. Mm-hmm. So, definitely if you're listening out there, if you're in a band and you're looking to do stuff like that, let me know.
It's a very creative way to be able to promote your band.
Yeah.
And put everything out there. But what we do ask, though, is that you don't talk about shows that are upcoming that you're going to be doing, because that will timestamp the videos.
Yeah, I guess, that's because that's the thing. We don't know what the turnaround is going to be with...
Yeah, I mean, you could promote your album or your EP that's coming out or anything like that, something solid, but when you're doing a show next Saturday, people are going to see these videos 6 or 7 years later, and next Saturday happened 6 or 7 years earlier.
Yeah.
So,
or, if nothing else, you're just at least telling people who you are.
Right. That's what we really want to do. We really want to get down to the meat and potatoes of the band.
You're introducing yourselves to people who might not be aware of what you do.
Right.
And
so basically, we would rather you on the show talk about the history of your bands, mm-hmm. and be able to push what you physically have, like websites and stuff like that, and ways and means in order to achieve your music that you've already produced and put out there, that is already on the scene. It would be so much better for that. But this is the kind of conversations that we go through with the bands when they come on site, and everything. So
yeah, but I figure, at least with this podcast, by the time people hear it, we might have a bunch of episodes up already.
I'm hoping so.
So because I really would love Beyond.
We're gonna get that pilot out.
Beyond Backstage with Jack and Sarah is what the show will be called. Mm-hmm. That's our sort of working title that we're working with right now.
It'll be a YouTube channel, and it will have social media connections, just like Florida Freaks does.
So, in a way, I hope that putting it on this podcast and recording it, in a sense, we're like speaking it into a reality.
Exactly.
I guess we're holding ourselves accountable right now with by putting this out.
Absolutely.
But at least letting people know what it is and what it is we're trying to do, and I think that will at least get people on board. But at least let people know what it is.
It's something that is definitely in the works right now. And like I said, we're in early stages of development. And by meaning of that is we're putting together the social media for it and everything else like that. Yeah. That takes time. And we're also putting together, the actual shows themselves. It's a lot of things that aspects that go into putting together
a lot of planning, a lot of logistics, especially if you have a band with a lot of people in it.
Absolutely.
And trying to figure out something for everyone to do.
Scheduling is a very big part of it.
It is. But and we don't have a big budget, so we can't really spend a lot of money on like tickets for certain places. Yeah. But as long as we're doing things that we enjoy and things that people watching will enjoy.
Absolutely.
And
there's plenty of free stuff
and
to
look,
do around here. Right?
Sometimes it's like it's an excuse for us to hang out with our friends. Really, that's really what it boils down to.
It really is. And I'm looking forward to every bit of it. Florida Freaks it jumped to 116 followers or subscribers right now, and which over a short amount of time, which I'm very grateful for all of our subscribers. And the ones that will be coming soon, but that's the whole thing about Beyond Backstage.
Right.
Is that's what I want to do with that. I want to be able to put it out there, have some good, solid episodes to be able to put on, and then go from there. That way people have things that they could check out.
For sure.
And not waiting for something to come out later on. We already have things that will be put out at a timely manner.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be overly thought. We're just having fun, and we're taking the viewers along with us. Mm-hmm. And and we're not here to make light of whatever the band is doing. If anything, me and Sarah might look foolish on there, but if it's we're not trying to make the bands look foolish, and that's the idea.
And one of the main things on Beyond Backstage that we're looking into to better the show before it even starts is putting together a nice cinematographer out of Full Sail University or Valencia or anything. Somebody who wants to start up and get something on their portfolio and they want to jump on. We've been talking with a bunch of people, and we're in the process. So look forward to that.
There's no shortage of creative people here in Orlando.
No, absolutely not.
And we're very blessed to have that.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that, at least by putting this podcast out, that we're kind of almost speaking it into reality, like I said, and holding ourselves accountable. And hopefully by the time people are listening to this, we'll either be in production or have something to show for it.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how it goes. But I mean, obviously, I could talk with this guy for a long time, but I think we're going to wrap it up here. Al, this has been really cool to finally be able to tell your story.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
And just the way our careers have sort of interacted with each other over the past couple of years, and just becoming your friend outside of it. I'm really glad that we've gotten to do that.
Jack, I'm really appreciative to you because every time I do have a project or something going on, you're always the person who calls me up and says, "Hey, you want me to come out there and help you with that? Because I'll come out." And sure enough, you're right there helping me out.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people out there that, they want to help out, but they just don't have the time or something. I don't know. They just fall off. And you never fall off on me, man. You're always right there, and you're ready to rock and roll and meet me up at this theme park or meet me over at this venue and put some FaceTime on and everything, and I appreciate that about you, man.
For sure. Well, I mean, I hope I don't fall off.
No, you haven't yet. So
I don't want you and Sarah to kick my ass. So it's that's
maybe Sarah. You gotta watch out with her.
Yeah, she's small but fierce.
Yeah.
But
you got some fire
for sure. But Al, this is cool. Again, is Alikour.com, is that up and running at the moment?
Alikour.com is under construction right now, and the reason why is because we're trying to get beyond Backstage open and trying to build up Florida Freaks, and we're going to add that as a couple more pages to Alikour.com.
Sure.
But for right now, if you want to reach us, it's always Alikour Productions LLC on Facebook. You can go to Instagram, Alikour Productions on Instagram. If you're on Twitter, we have Alikour Studios on Twitter. And, of course, with YouTube, you could check out Alikour Productions LLC on YouTube or Florida Freaks.
Right.
And
Alikour.
Soon, beyond Backstage.
Yeah, Alikour is Alikour. I have included a link to to your page or at least to the .com in just about every description of every episode of this podcast that's put out, because it's this is a company I believe in. This is a company I've been a part of, and something that I'd like to think I'm playing a small part in helping to get off the ground.
It's a bigger part than you think.
And it's something that I really believe in. It's really a labor of love for both of us, and I'm really glad to have you on, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. This has been fun.
For sure. There you go. Thanks once again to my good friend Al Khouri for coming on the show, finally talking about everything that he's doing with Alikour Studios and Florida Freaks and Beyond Backstage, which, look, by the time I post this, I don't think we will have the debut episode up yet on YouTube. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, it will be there, along with a few other episodes maybe. But as of this recording and of this posting, it is not up yet, but it is being worked on. So look for Beyond Backstage with Jack and Sarah on YouTube, on the Alikour YouTube network. And also check out their channel for Florida Freaks. It's a really great show, and just check out all their various sites. It's on Facebook, they're Alikour Productions. On Twitter, it's at Alikour Studios. On Instagram, it is also at Alikour Productions. So I'll have links to everything in the description, so make sure you check it out. They're doing a lot of good work over there, and I am proud to be a part of the Alikour family. As far as upcoming events for me, Vertebreaker is playing a show this Friday, June 22nd at the Haven in Winter Park. We are going to be there along with Cruel Curses, Grim Ghost, and Auditory Armory. Auditory Armory is doing a special set of cover tunes. I might do a song or two with them. So, if you're hearing this and it's before June 22nd, definitely come out and check it out. We'd love to see you there. So that's it for this episode of the Phoenix Report. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Feel free to check out my band, Vertebreaker, at facebook.com/VertebreakerBand. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com, or you could tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes, you can make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a good rating. Go back and listen to all the other episodes. Thanks again for tuning in. For Al Khouri, this has been the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor. We'll see you later. #Excellence Refocused.